land stretched wide and endless beneath the burning sun, a land of dust and grass and the steady whisper of wind that never seemed to rest. The ranch stood in the middle of it all, a lonely outpost of wood and sweat, where one man had built his life with nothing but his hands, his strength, and his hope. His name was John, and though he had weathered storms of every kind, there was one storm he could not calm, the storm of loneliness that lived inside his chest. It was a silence that echoed through the rooms of his home after his wife had passed away, leaving him alone with their little girl Emily, who was the only light that kept him moving forward. John rose before dawn every day. He saddled his horse, checked the fences, hauled water, and guided the cattle. His back was strong, his hands were rough, his voice steady. But when he stepped back into the house in the evenings, the emptiness of the place wrapped around him, he would see his daughter sitting at the table, her small legs, swinging, her eyes filled with unspoken questions. She was only 8 years old, and already she knew what it meant to live without a mother. He tried his best to braid her hair, to tell her stories, to soothe her fears at night, but he knew there were pieces of her heart he could never reach. Emily loved her father fiercely. She admired the way he stood tall, the way he worked until sweat soaked his shirt and dirt lined his arms, but she also longed for something softer. She remembered faint glimpses of her mother, a gentle hand brushing her hair, a warm voice singing a lullaby. And though those memories were fading, she clung to them whenever she felt alone. John could see her longing, and it cut him deeper than any wound the land had ever given him. One night after putting Emily to bed, he sat by the fire and stared at the flames, his mind heavy with thought. He knew he could not give his daughter everything she needed, and he could not go on carrying the silence by himself. He needed someone who could share this burden, not just a partner for himself, but someone who could be the mother his daughter needed. The decision came to him in the simplest way. He would send for a wife, not through courting, not through the dances in town where men and women met, but through a matchmaker who found women willing to travel west to marry men. They had never met women who wanted a new life away from the crowded towns and broken streets of the East. It was not romance, but it was hope. And sometimes, hope was all a man had. John wrote the letter with careful words. I am a man of the land, I work hard, and I have a home. I have a daughter who needs a mother. I seek a woman who wishes to stay and to build a life with us. He sealed it and sent it off, then waited with a heavy heart. Emily noticed the letters and asked one day, Father, why do you write to strangers? He looked at her gentle and steady and said, I am searching for someone who might bring warmth into our home, someone who can care for you as a mother. Would she thought about this? Her brow furrowed, and then she said softly, I hope she will be kind. Weeks stretched into months before a reply came. The answer was yes, a woman had agreed to come. Her name was Anna. She was not wealthy or pampered. She was a woman who had faced struggles of her own. She had lived in a city where life was hard, where people judged her for being plain, where no one saw her worth. But she carried inside her a heart of gold. And when she read John's letter, she felt something stir, a chance for a new beginning. She boarded a train with only a small bag, her clothes simple, her spirit brave. The journey across the plains was long and harsh. She watched the landscape change from steel and stone to wide open skies and endless grasses. And when she stepped off the train at the dusty station, she felt the weight of all her choices press on her chest. Yet she also felt a spark of courage. John had come to meet her with Emily by his side. Emily clutched his hand tightly. Her eyes wide and curious, Anna saw them standing there, the tall rancher with shoulders broad and eyes serious, and the little girl with golden hair and cautious hope in her gaze. Anna smiled. Though her heart was pounding, she knelt down so she was at the girl's height and said, Hello, you must be Emily, I have heard about you. The girl studied her for a long moment, then without a word slipped her small hand into Anna's, and that simple gesture carried more meaning than any words could hold. They traveled back to the ranch in silence, broken only by the creak of the wagon wheels. Anna glanced at John from time to time, noticing the quiet strength in his jaw and the way he looked at his daughter as if she were the sun itself. Emily sat between them, holding Anna's hand as if she had known her forever. Life on the ranch did not change all at once, but slowly. Like the way dawn breaks over the hills, Anna began to weave herself into their days. She woke early. To cook, she mended torn clothes, she swept the dust from the floor. But more than chores, she brought something John had not expected. She brought laughter. She showed Emily how to pick wildflowers and press them between pages of a book she taught. Her to sew tiny stitches, she sang lullabies at night when storms rattled the windows and the child curled up against her for comfort. For John, it was both a relief and a new kind of fear. He had asked Anna to come, but he had not known what she would mean to them now. He wondered every day, will she stay or will she leave one morning without a word? He could not bear to imagine the pain on his daughter's face if Anna decided she did not belong here. One evening after supper, they sat by the fire. Emily curled against Anna's side, listening to her read a story. John watched them, his heart heavy and full all at once. And then Emily looked up, her voice soft but steady, and asked, "Father, can she stay forever?" The words struck him harder than any storm. He could not answer. At once his throat burned. He turned his eyes to Anna, who sat still, her hand on Emily's shoulder, her gaze filled with uncertainty. John cleared his voice and said, "If she wishes to stay, then yes, she can stay. As long as she chooses." Emily's eyes shone with hope, and she hugged Anna tightly. Anna's own eyes filled with quiet tears. She bent her head and whispered to the girl, "I will stay if you want me to." Emily nodded fiercely, her arms wrapped around Anna's neck as if she would never let go. That night something shifted. The walls of the house no longer felt hollow. Laughter began to echo in the mornings, songs filled the evenings, and the loneliness that had once ruled the ranch faded like mist in the rising sun. John found not only a partner to share his burdens, but a woman whose presence brought life into the home, and a love that grew not from arrangement, but from choice, from kindness, from the simple but powerful truth that family is built by the heart. The seasons passed, the land bloomed under the rain, the cattle grew fat, the fences held strong, yet the greatest change was not in the fields or the herds, but within the walls of that wooden house where a man, a woman, and a little girl found themselves bound together not by contracts or necessity, but by love. Anna stayed, not because she had to, but because she was wanted, needed, cherished. She had become mother to Emily, partner to John, and the soul of the home. And so, the ranch was no longer a lonely place on the edge of the wide plains. It was a place where hearts healed, where laughter returned, where a little girl no longer asked if love would vanish, because she already knew the answer.